cars forming up on the grid. They've also got a representative with them as well as the safety car moves them off. So in a few moments' time, they'll get the field as we look at the grid, and we'll take you through how they're going to line up then for round 11 of Racing Hondas 2025 back at Brands Hatch on a now slightly overcast Go Japan event here at Brands Hatch. So Liam Collins then wants his first victory. He will start from pole position in the Integra DC2. Alongside him, championship leader Will Self on old tyres. Let's see how long they can last for 15 minutes. Then Tommy Knight, we know how big a game he's talking, third on the grid in the Knight Racing Blue EK Civic. And James Kiff from the second row of the grid. He is in real good form in that DC2 Integra, looking for a podium for fourth on the grid. Kevin Talbot needs some good results here, starting for fifth in the DC5 Integra for KC Imports. And Phil Wright, who's won here 4 times before, if he can make it 5, he's going to have to do it from 6th on the grid. Big task, but he can try and work it through if he can. Dave Buki starts on the 4th row of the grid in all EK row 4 alongside James Alford, and that's the end of the Class A cars. Then we move forwards into Class B, where we find Dan Thackeray, the champion leader, both in class and overall. He starts on the 5th row of the grid alongside his main rival Ryan Cunningham. Then Spencer Fortag comes next, one of his best qualifying efforts, in 3rd alongside Sammy Milam in the first of the 2 Kinetic Motorsport EP3s. Then Sam Linsner, 3rd in the championship. He's got some work to do from 5th in class alongside Lewis Barker, who will want to find his feet after Alton. Duncan Holloway in the first of the 2 Honor Motorsport EP3s alongside Luke Crassus Menu in 16th on the grid. As we move down the order, we've got Thomas Mitchell, our single round entry, making his debut in the championship this weekend at 17th on the grid. And then our 2 Class C cars come next. Matt Rowling on pole position alongside Callum Houchin, and then Owen Diver in the 2nd Kinetic Motorsport car will round out our 20 runners for this weekend's activity at Brands Hatch. So cars making their way off onto the formation lap. It's a very short circuit, Brands Hatch, an Indy circuit, 1.2 miles in length. And we talk about the history of this circuit as well. I'm going to go full Anorak mode here, and I do not apologise. Venue was first used back in 1926 for cycling and running races, and then it was then Brands Hatch Stadium Limited formed in 1947. They laid tarmac towards 1950. They used to run anti-clockwise, so essentially the first corner would be down at Clearways all the way back through, and they would go up Paddock Hill Bends to finish the lap. But they changed that around about sort of looked somewhat like an Indy layout, sort of kidney shaped. Added the GP loop in 1960, held its first non-championship race that year. Started hosting World Championship Formula 1 races, sports car races. Even had the Indy cars come over here in 1978, hence why it's called the Indy Circuit, and was run by kind of Brands Hatch Limited until 2003 when Motorsport Division bought it, and now it still runs British touring cars, GT World Challenge, British GT, British Superbikes, et al., including, of course, our 2 events that we've had in Time Attack and Racing Hondas all the way through. So, cars making their way back onto the grid. I have to say, I was expecting it to be sunny all day, but the weather forecast at some point was suggesting it was going to rain at any time. Now we've got overcast weather over the top here. This could be pretty interesting. This could be quite very interesting point in the sense. So I wonder if the rain's possibly going to fall here, if we're going to have any issues, or if it's going to stay dry. It might stay warm. Temperature's about roughly 19 degrees or so we'll wait and see how this one plays out. So, let's see how the stage is set then. Liam Collins looking for his first victory. Will Self needs a victory to keep himself in hunt for the championship. Tommy Knight talking that big game. He wants that win on the home soil. James Kiff on good form. Kevin Talbot needs some good results. Phil Wright needs to try and get the points in the mix, and as much as well. So you know the drill. It all goes calm and quiet until the VTEC kicks in, and it will do in a few moments' time. Last couple of the cars just forming up at the back. Callum Houchin and indeed Owen Diver there. Watch for the green flag, and then we are all set for 15 minutes of round 11 of Racing Hondas 2025. The green flag is flown. Can Collins take a first victory? Can Will Self make it on all tyres? Can anyone else get to the front? Watch for the red lights. And round 11 is underway. It's a clean start from the front row, and Will Self does put himself level in the approach and gets the lead down towards Paddock Hill Bend. It's nearly 4 abreast for 4th position down towards Paddock, but Will Self from the front row heads into Paddock Hill Bend and takes the lead as they head down towards Druids for the first time. Collins in second place. Tom Knight gives him a little kiss in the rear bumper up towards the top end of the circuit, and now up towards Druids for the first time. Self leads it. Knight looking to go round the outside of Collins for second place. Won't make that work. And Phil Wright is already up to 4th place. He's past Talbot and he's past James Kiff. The EP3 Civic in the mix as well. Knight looks up the inside into Graham Hill Bend for second place. Can't make that stick. In Class B, it's still Dan Thackeray from Spencer Fortag in second place. Cunningham 3rd, Linsner 4th, and Milan 5th. Into Surtees for the first time, nose to tail. And it's still Will Self, who, for someone who's telling me he doesn't like Brands Hatch and is on Wheating old tyres. He's putting a pretty good game here, but Collins coming back at him through Clearways, through Clark Kerr for the first time. The lock-ups, running wide there is Lewis Barker at the top of the circuit. Has he got a problem or just all out of sorts? Either way, he gets the car back going again, but up to the end of lap 1 across the line, and Will Self leads it by half a second. Then second for Liam Collins, 3rd for Tommy Knight, 4th for Phil Wright, 5th for James Kiff, but it's Talbot, Buchan, Alford. That's the top 8 in Class A. The 9th overall is Dan Thackeray for Spencer Fortag in the top 10. Cunningham 11th, Linsner 12th. as we watch the Class A battle here for third place. This is now 4 of them stacking up for third position. Tommy Knight forming a bit of a bottleneck here because top 2 are getting away. Stilf is getting away with Collins, but now Tommy's kind of holding them up a little bit here. He's got pace, but it looks as though that kind of Wright and Kiff and Talbot are getting a bit impatient. They're wanting to kind of get on with it here. Towards Surtees now for the second time. There was Talbot having a look up the inside, a little sniff for 5th position to try and get past James Kiff and the DC2 Integra. Turning their way through McLaren and through clearways. Swing their way through, use all the curb circuit on the edge of the track, back to the inside to get the shortest possible run to the start-finish line. And Phil Wright now senses the opportunity for third place in these early stages already. First proper lap has come in the books now, so we'll get the times in a second, see who's done what. 6 tenths per second, nearly 7 tenths between the top 2 as they come back towards Druids for the third time. It's a little bit overcast, so it's possibly a little bit cooler. That will help for tyre temperatures and pressures. There's Dan Thackeray going through in the Class B lead. He's got a gap of 1.4 seconds over Ryan Cunningham in second place. Fortag in third. Lindstner, Milan, Crassus Benny's up a couple of places too. He's made some really good progress, up to 14th. Now, where did he start? He started back in 16th. He's made up 2 spots, so it's not too bad. He's up now to, I think, 6th in class. So a good effort from Luke to get himself in there. Might have one of his best results. Let's see what we've got previously in terms of his class results up to this point. If you keep an eye on the Class A leaders, Crassus Menu has so far had a best result of 6th. If he can stay there, he's got that at Donington Park in race 2. If he can manage that, he'll be able to get himself into his season's best equaling position. He even get a top 5 if he can start to chase after Sammy Milan. Leaders back up towards Druids. If anything, Collins is much closer this time to the back of Will Self. He's right on the rear bumper of the EG Civic as they turn through Druids for what is now the 4th time. Set the fastest lap of the race last time by. It was a 52.071. Now, I remind you with lap records in the race, the outright lap record is still held by Liam Collins that he set earlier on this season, 52.005. He's getting close to it, so they're on lap record pace almost. Pitch their way through McLaren and clearways now for the 4th time. Just a little lifting of the inside wheel as he comes through, just shows how stiffly sprung these cars can be when they're set up in race mode. Collins, he's in hot pursuit now. This is exactly what he wants. He's so determined, so desperate to get that first victory, but Will Self standing in his way. If Will Self can stay there, it'll be his 6th win of the season, his 5th in a row, believe it or not, so he really is on a great bit of form. And again, just darted to the inside. He's forcing himself to go for it, and Lewis Barker's off the road, and that is 3 wheels on his wagon, sadly. That's not how he wants that to happen. Now, whether that happened by itself or whether or not he had some help with that, we didn't see. Well, there's a replay that our guys at Alpha can bring us. We'll have to wait. New fastest lap of the race last time by is again gone to Liam Collins. How's that work with lap records? No, not quite. 52.066 compared to a 0.05, so he still hasn't lowered it, but he's getting close. And Collins is getting really close. And we won't be able to pass here because there's been yellow flags. So he backs off double wave yellows because the car is stationary. And that's quite beached on the edge of the circuit. It's a slow part of the circuit, but do I mention the word safety car? Do I dare say that? Is that a commentator's curse? We'll wait and see. They might cover it with double wave yellows because he's quite close there. And they are backing off by the looks of it. Is it safety car? They're backing off, so I would imagine, I think so. Yeah, safety car deployed. So they're going to have to stack this up because they have to drag Lewis Barker's car out of position because it is right on the edge of the circuit, and that's kind of a natural path of the racing line. When you take that run through Clark Curve and then McLaren and clearways, you do sweep naturally outside, let the momentum of the corner bring you back all the way around so that you then manage to go to the inside line to keep you running down the inside of the circuit back towards the pit straight. So, brief pause. 5 minutes gone. Will Self gets a little bit of respite, given he was given some big pressure from Collins, but I reckon he'll give him even more pressure on the restart, given he's that close. So Will Self leads the way, Liam Collins in second place. This will also give Tommy Knight a great opportunity to be on his toes on the restart if he can get close. He was only 4 tenths away from Tommy Knight in that third race, in third position. Phil Wright still in 4th place. This is still good for Will Self in the championship. James Kiff in 5th position, so he's dropped a couple of places. 6th is Kevin Talbot, so quite not as far as high as he'd like to be, but again, he gets a chance to reset on this restart. It's then 7th for Buki and 8th for Alford. Dan Thackeray still leads Class B from Ryan Cunningham in 2nd, Spencer Fortag in 3rd. Then Lindstner and Milam in the top 5. Then Crassus Menu, Holloway, Rowling, who leads Class C. Diver Mitchell ahead of Callum Houchin, so that's not quite where he wanted to be. He's got a couple of cars in between him, more than he'd like to, even though they are different classes being in Class B. Of course, the one car we've lost is Lewis Barker, so all the progress he was hoping to make, not really coming as high as he wants to. So the field now neutralised, just stacked up behind the Hyundai should say it right. Hyundai iconic race car, safety car. And just a bit of respite here. Just a chance to breathe, chance to maybe get a little more, keep the temperature and pressure of the tyres a little bit. They might decide to weave a little more. So I think the safety car is leading the round a little bit slower because they want to give the marshals as much time as possible to recover Lewis's car, which is, they've got a recovery truck that's just appeared up at Clearways. And they think he's right on the edge of the recovery road, which is the loop, the link road that comes in from where the GP loop is. So he might well get a chance to quickly drag that away. If they can do that with minimal damage, that will certainly help. And there is Lewis Barker's car. Now it's actually, it looks more like as the tyre come off the rim, because it doesn't look as though the rim's still attached to the tyre. It looks like he's the tyre's completely sheared off the rim by the look of it, unless that's just an illusion of how I looked at it. But that's quite fascinating. He picks it up, and yeah, the tyre's completely come off. So there's no tyre completely left on the rim. That's quite bizarre. Now, whether or not that's been a help, I think the phrase I say is, did he jump or was he pushed? So did he do it by himself as it just came off by itself, or did he have some help? That looks like something that would have to be forced. So unless we have a replay of that, it's difficult for us to speculate. So the main headline is, unfortunately, Lewis Barker's out of it, so unfortunately he'll be scoring no points, and that's a 0 score, which he'll have to use as a drop score, because if I look at his results from throughout the season, Lewis Barker, he's now had a second DNF, and if you're dropping your worst 2 results, he'll have to use those 2, because they're your 2 worst results, because you score nothing, so therefore you can drop them. It will mean, though, that if he is using those 2 results, he can't really afford any more bad results or DNFs, otherwise he'll start losing his ground in the championship. That, of course, benefits Spencer Fortag and Sammy Milam, so every cloud has a silver lining and all that. We're just hearing in my ears, there's no replay of it, but he thinks he's made contact with somebody, so it would have been side-to-side contact at some point, and that looks like he just popped the wheel off the rim, which is quite bizarre. I've never seen that before, but there's a first for everything in motorsport. So 6.5 minutes to go then. The recovery, they've got the full low loader out, in fact, actually, so fingers crossed they can get this going pretty quickly, and they'll quickly hope to get that car away. So maybe we should make some loose calculations of where this will be in terms of points if they finish where they are. So it's 15 points for a win, so Will Self will then gain 15, so that will put him on to, use my rudimentary GCSE maths, it's funny because it's true, 142 points that will put him on then if he stays where he is. Liam Collins will go from 100 to 112, plus the 1 for fastest lap that he currently has, so 113. Tommy Knight will finish, if it finishes like this, depending what happens in the next 6 minutes, he will get himself, that will be 10 points. So that will put him on to 89 if this stays where it is. 4th is Phil Wright, who came into the weekend on, this time here, 113. So that will put him on to 121. And then 5th place at the moment is James Kiff, and he came into the weekend on 35, plus the bonus points he got to 37. So that will then give him 6 points, and that will put him on to 43. You knew I could do maths. Anyway, 5 minutes to go then in this race. Just checking the progress of they've just about got, they're quickly trying to get Lewis Barker's car to that low loader because they realise the time is ticking. Just about 5 minutes to go. And I think they might well get that off pretty quick. I'm pretty sure as soon as it's off the circuit, they will certainly go ahead and release them back again. That's going to mean that we're going to get a real dash for the cash here. There's some good news at the site there. That's Lewis Barker's car quickly on the low loader. I'm sure they'll very quickly zip it to the little area where you can see just where the GP loop comes on. And they'll get that out of the way, and they'll send a signal to race control. Circuit is clear, away we go. And I think possibly, are they trying to slow the pace a little bit so they can get them going this lap? So they'll give them about 4 minutes or so of restart. Let's see how that works. So Will Self then, aiming for his 5th win in a row, 6th of the season. Liam Collins wants his 1st. He might have to wait till round 11 if he can get a good restart here. And he'll know, of course, on top of that, that Will Self's tyres are not going to be as sharp. They sit next to each other in the awning. So we would have heard that information anyway. So he'll have that knowledge in the back of his head, thinking, I've got some better tyres here than you have, so see what your restart's like. And then if you're not on your toes, I'll be straight on you. Right, safety car lights are out, so we are going to get a 4-minute dash for the cash then. And Will Self, is that him going early? He's created quite a gap, so I think he's almost caught Liam Collins off guard there. You have to wait until the safety car gets to the pit-in line, and Will Self has gone early, so he realises that with not as fresh a tyres. He has to build as much a gap as possible on the restart to prevent Collins from attacking him. But he's now got Collins, Knight and Wright behind him as they charge to the line. Green flag in the air then, less than 4 minutes to go. And Tommy Knight, you see he's going to go for it. I think he's about to. He's going to challenge Liam Collins for second on the approach to Paddock Hill Bend. But Collins closes back in under braking. So he might have a chance here. And here he comes. He's got a good run here. Again, self to the inside to defend. Collins tries to get himself up the inside, but now finds himself almost boxed in because he has Will Surf right in front. Knight's right behind him. Phil Wright's closing up again. If these four scrap, it'll bring both James Kiffin and one car's off the road at Paddock Hill Bend. And is that Ryan Cunningham that's off the road? No, it's Luke Crassus-Meny who's off the road. Luke Crassus-Meny is off. Now, is that going to be a safety car, or are they going to have to cover that with double waved yellows? They might cover it with double waved yellows, so there's no overtaking on the ex-Paddock Hill Bend. No, red flag. Race has been stopped. Red flag is out, race has stopped, and they've gone past 75% distance, which means that it'll have to be a result declared. So what was going to be a grandstand finish in the end, instead is going to be another bit of anticlimax, as it was in race 2 for Alton Park. And that's a bit of a disappointment, but that's motorsport. It happens, and with 3 minutes to go, the race is over. And as I said, because they've gone past 75% distance, then they'll have to declare that as a result. Now, they are bringing them onto the pit straight. Yeah, there is also what we're hearing as well, another car that's off at Druids. Now, I'm looking here to see... Oh, yes, there's another car off there. And if you're looking at it, unfortunately, I'll have to say it's on its side as well. And it looks like, visibly, trying to identify cars, it might be one of the Honda Motorsport cars. Maybe, I think, possibly Duncan Holloway, I wonder. Now, I don't know if that's two separate incidents, one or the other, but that's obviously one of the main reasons why we had a red flag. 2 cars off anyway. And because of that, the race is over. So as I say, 75% race distance is 3 minutes 45 seconds to go in a 15-minute race. We've passed that, which means we're going to have to declare it a result. There's Luke Crassus-Meny who's jumping back into. He's okay. Obviously, the main concern is that Duncan Holloway was there, but it looks like, is that him clambering out the car? It is. And if it is coming out the car, guys, give him a round of applause. Give him a show of appreciation, because it looks like at the very least, he is visibly okay. So that's the key thing on that. So any kind of incident, the first concern should always be that the driver's all right. So that's a key thing. So that's good to see. And you can see there on the screen, he's clattered into the tyre. So that'll be a tiny bit of a tyre rebuild by the look of it before he goes back to... We go back to track action, because the next track action we've got coming up is back to time attack. So we have... We've actually got lunch break coming up next. Then we have more MSUK Drift Pro exhibitions. And then we have the Time Attack 2 coming up. That's running around about 3:15. That's going to be Attack 2 for, first of all, Club Pro, Pro and Pro Extreme, Club 2 and wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And then we have Classic and Retro, Clubman and Pocket Rocket. And then after that, we have our second Racing Hondas race, which is scheduled for around about 25 to 5. So we'll wait and see. Now, they've brought them on the grid, but as I mentioned, we've gone past the 75% distance, so they can declare a result. I'd imagine that's probably going to be the case. So we'll wait and see what word we get, or what we'll do with them, because they are all perched on the pit straight. If it is what if that does mean what we think it means, then it means that Will Self has got himself a 6th win of the season, and he's 5th in a row. So the restart actually, he got a decent restart, but was being challenged, so the red flag kind of saved him a little bit. Liam Collins is going to have to wait again for another chance at a victory. Now, of course, what they're going to do is we do a partial reverse draw, which we'll do with Charlie down at the interviews at the end to see who was going to basically get how many positions we reverse in each class. And that actually changes how the grid looks in terms of visibly when you see it for race number 2. If you haven't seen Racing Hondas before, they won't fully reverse the order of the grid in terms of where they finished in the actual full result. What they'll do is they're going to separate them by classes A, B and C. So all the Class A cars go to the front of the field, then there's a rows gap, Class B cars, row gap, Class C, and they reverse by the number which gets drawn out of the random draw after Charlie finishes her interviews with the 3 class winners. So we have, I think it's balls 4 to 8, which means that the top 4 to the top 8 get reversed. So if that's the case, we could be seeing someone like James Alford gets himself on pole position if 8 gets drawn. So I'm also seeing Luke Crassus-Meny's car is driving under its own power, just trying to shake off some of the gravel, which is quite considerate. He's doing it off the racing line, which is the best thing to do. So that's smart driving from Luke. Well done. So we'll have possibly either, somewhere between Phil Wright, I think, and James Alford will get the reverse grid Class A pole. For Class B pole, it's going to be somewhere between either, I think, Owen Diver and Sam Linster. Linster was 4th in class at the time of the red flag and 8th was Owen Diver. And then for Class C, they'll literally just swap the two cars around. So Rowling was ahead of Houchin, so they'll put Houchin ahead of Rowling, and that's that for that particular class. So we'll go through results when we get to them. Of course, we're just trying to figure out what the next protocol of what we're doing here, because all the cars are pretty much lined up on the pit straight. They're not here. Dare we even say we get a restart? Because, as I mentioned, we get to 75% race distance, and you can call a result. Now, a lap round here is about roughly, 52 seconds or so, so they can get maybe 2 or 3 laps in for a 2 or 3 lap shootout if it's possible. But we're now just deciding what to do. Lewis Barker's car, meanwhile, is just being trailered back to the outer paddock, so that's going to be worked on, of course, for race 2 to get it out there. Just put a new tyre on it, and away we go. So just waiting here to get some information on what is happening next. Drivers have got their doors out, trying to keep cool, because the sun's starting to reappear now, despite the overcast clouds that we had just a few moments ago for the start of race, this first race. Second race coming up later on. Of course, it's not the end of the season, because we've got 2 more rounds still to go. We cross the border into Scotland at the end of the month, and we go to Knockhill, and that's going to be a real fun event, because Knockhill is an absolute mini roller coaster of a circuit. It's a wonderful facility. It's a fantastic, great circuit in Fife in Scotland, and it is going to produce some great racing. Lots of ups and downs, lots of big curves to hop around. It's going to be quite a spectacle to see. And then the season finale takes us back to Snetterton, but this time on the 200 layout. It's as far as I'm aware it is, and that will be where we will, if it hasn't already, see our champions crowned both in classes A, B and C, and indeed overall on top of that as well. Now they're just trying to right Duncan Holloway's car, and that's hanging right quite precariously from where it was. It was on its side, but it's almost like it's about to be tipped completely over onto its roof, which I think is quite interesting. But hard for me to question the hard-working marshals and officials. And indeed there it is. I think they're trying to manoeuvre it into a safer position so they could tip it over. So again, far for me to question their heroic efforts. And again, thanks to all the marshals, officials, recovery teams. Just looked a bit odd in terms of how they were manoeuvring it. But it's now on its right wheels again, and that will go back to the paddock, and Honor Motorsport will descend on it for the next couple of hours in order to get it into a better position. So just waiting really just to be declared what's going to happen. There's a couple of marshals talking to drivers on the grid. There's a marshal talking to Liam Collins. So I wonder if there's given a bit of a protocol in terms of what's happening. And of course, in terms of championship connotations, if you look at the fact that Will Self is going to outscore Phil Wright by how many points? As I said, it was 15 points compared to 8. So he's built his lead further by another 7 points. So that will put him on to, as I said, 15 points for Will Self will put him on to 142. And Phil Wright will go on to, he was 113, that will put him on to 121. So that will put the gap out now to 21 points, I make it. So he's gained, or 21 or 23 points, one of the two. But he's gained more points, which is certainly going to be helpful. We've got a course car out on circuit at the moment. Probably just having a look to see what's going on up on the approach to Druids from the incident that we had with Duncan Holloway. Plenty going on the skies as well. Just saw a shot on the live stream there of an old school fighter plane having a fly around in the area. And there it is on stream if you're watching. Just sort of looking pretty majestic in this September afternoon sunshine. And yeah, I think the car's just going to head back to the paddock now, because, as we said, 3 minutes, checker flag is out, so they are pretty much declaring a result then, and the course car's going to help them back around to the circuit. So that means then, once we get the results on screen, it is going to be a 6th win of the season and a 5th in a row for Will Self. So once again, trying to fulfill that proclamation that he made at the start of the season. He declared right at the start of the year, I'm winning this championship, I'm going for it, I'm ready, the car's good, and he's proved, even with worn tyres that are meeting old, and even with no confidence in the fact that he doesn't like this circuit, it's certainly served him well and actually given him a race victory that he very much needed, and more points to extend his lead over his main championship rival. So, in what was a bit of an anticlimactic finish, as it was at Alton Park in race 2, unfortunately, but here's the result declared after the red flag. So Will Self then takes his 5th victory in a row and his 6th of the season by just 0.8 seconds from Liam Collins in second place. Tommy Knight gets a podium, so he'll get third place as the silverware on his home circuit. Phil Wright can't match a victory. It's fourth ahead of James Kiff in fifth, but it's Kevin Talbot, Dave Buki, and James Alford who round out the top 8 and the runners in Class A. Then Dan Thackeray takes Class B victory. Once again, it's another victory for him. That's his 9th win in 11th races. It's Ryan Cunningham in second place, and Spencer Fortag gets a podium in third in his FN2 Civic. Sam Linstner in fourth, and Sammy Milam in fifth, and Luke Crassus-Menu completes the top 6. Well, he might have been declared there because he wasn't running at the time of the red flag. So usually if you're not running, don't get classified, but he's in there at the moment. I don't think Duncan Holloway will be either because he wasn't running 2. Matt Rowling gets another Class C victory. He'll extend his lead. It's Owen Diver, our single round entry Thomas Mitchell, and Callum Houchin who were the last finishers, and Lewis Barker, we saw obviously, was off the road up at Clearways when he had the tyre pop off the rim and had to bring up the first safety car of the race, which then neutralised things up with about 4 minutes to go.